Ladies and gentlemen, it's really humbling to follow Harry onto the stage. I can't even attempt to try and maintain the mood. Ironically, experience has shown me that if any of you were to type my name into your computer or your mobile phone, your machine's spell check will not recognize the word, but will come up with the next best suggested alternative, which is unfortunately not Anticoni, but anticlimax. Harry and the boys are testament to the fact that we must continue to treasure all those within our community that went through so much. Actually, the single largest number of Holocaust survivors, Nazi victims, and older members of our Jewish community that require support today remain in the former Soviet Union. They're all over the age of 70. And with such a tragic past, now still unimaginably face a precarious future. My commitment last year to assist 50,000 older Jewish people to live out their autumn years with dignity over the next 5 years remains. To date, we've achieved a remarkable 31,160 with medical support and home care. We've repaired their houses, or we simply brought them to our Jewish community centers to make them feel valued, loved, and looked after. I've heard many of you talking this evening about a controversial issue that was always going to cause strong, potentially even divisive feelings within the room. Let me reassure you, the beard is here to stay. Research has shown that the humble beard, assisted many of this organization's wisest and most significant founders and pioneers, giving them gravitas and distinction. Okay, not all of them founders and pioneers, but I'm hoping those others will be at next year's dinner. You'll have to come back, I'm afraid, next year to see. Looking forwards, challenging the hardest issues, yet being optimistic and pragmatic is, of course, fundamental to our work. We know that the key problem with these massive but fragile Jewish communities in the former Soviet Union remains twofold. A vast number of aging, lonely individuals and younger, poorly skilled and unemployable families increasingly living in chronic poverty. I cannot emphasize enough how the future of these communities remains on the brink. Yet we also realize that old-fashioned charitable handouts are not the answer. For our older clients, perhaps. But we have to continue to encourage a new generation of Jewish families slipping into poverty, that with the right tools and the right assistance, they must help themselves. Learning new skills and finding work is something we've helped our community do ever since Harry was in the job market. Last year, I made a second commitment to you, that through our livelihood programs, helping people back to work, we would bring 100,000 people out of poverty over the next 5 years. To date, we have already reached over 30,000. I'm convinced these interventions mean we might all but eradicate poverty from our Jewish communities in the former Soviet Union within our lifetimes. We're at a moment in history when a healthy older client group and an employed younger generation really start to strengthen the building blocks of a viable Jewish community. Supporters keep asking me that if life is so horrific in the former Soviet Union, why don't our Jewish clients simply move to Israel? They could, of course. They're Jewish and eligible and free to go. But they don't, and they won't. Moldova, Ukraine, Belarus, it's their home. It's where their parents and grandparents are buried, where they want to spend their futures, or are too old to even contemplate further upheaval. Helping these Jewish communities earn a living and look after their elderly, it's our bread and butter, it's our challah and butter. That's where your support tonight is going. Of course, the third and final strand of our work, responding to international disasters and reaching beyond our Jewish community, remains noisy, just as challenging. And while it is small in comparison to the first two strands, it continues to capture the attention of our community. I am proud to lead the Jewish International Fire Brigade. I was thinking more the Jewish International Thunderbirds. This year, responding to the catastrophic earthquake in Nepal, to the Ebola pandemic in Sierra Leone, and today's refugee crisis in Turkey and Greece. With our entire community behind us, we do this in the name of British Jewry, showing the world that we care, that we act with great expertise. This work saves lives, it builds livelihoods, and it wins us many friends. It takes nothing away from our traditional activities. Many of you here today have supported our emergency appeals, for which we are extremely grateful. However, tonight, all monies raised will be exclusively dedicated to our core programs supporting vulnerable Jewish communities in the former Soviet Union. Actually, responding to disaster is not just a third and additional strand to our work. Every day is a disaster if you are old and lonely or young and out of work. It's been 9 years since I joined World Jewish Relief. Many of you know how stubborn and tenacious I can be to achieve what we need to achieve. But I simply cannot do it alone. We work with many brilliant partners worldwide, the closest of which, the American Jewish Joint Distribution Committee, is represented this evening by their outstanding and sadly outgoing Chief Executive, Alan Gill. And I'm lucky to have had the most caring, thoughtful, yet determined chairman, James Libson, over the last 6 years. Every man needs a good lawyer behind him. Most importantly, I'm blessed to work with an absolutely outstanding team who I love to bits. And you are my beloved critical friends. I see you all cross the road when I approach and avoid my fundraising gaze at Brent Cross and Kenwood. You're friends because your passion and empathy is very real. You're critical. Oh, well, you're Jewish. But when you're next to me, when you're next to World Jewish Relief, together we can truly mend the fractures of this world. Thank you.